end a few careers today. I dare say we might.
Suppose we can't settle this with a round of...
Introducing your champion.
Everyone's got a place in the games, but I've got first place.
Oh yeah, master of the jump, right here.
Hold on, fellas. I never did finish Jump Master training. Bombs away!
Attention. First blood.
Opening a hold, so don't blow up.
Here. Level 2.
Round 1. Beginning ring countdown.
Ring's closing in 60, but it's near. Spot of good luck, that. We've some extra supplies here. Excellent.
Ring's close. 45 seconds.
Optics here. Close. The ring's near. Even this motley band could make it in 30 seconds. Ring backpack here. Level 2.
I'll take that.
Attention. There is a new kill leader.
Got us a new kill leader. Wouldn't mind saying good day to him.
In progress.
Thanks. I'm out of sniper ammo.
Head back. Enemy there.
Delivering
Hidden
care
enemy.
package.
Check it out. Care package coming in. Here comes the old knuckle cluster. Should move there, companions. Spotted a foe over there. Jolly good. Reloading. Smart bullets struck true.
Got one here.
Rude. Damn it. Another squad's cutting in.
Yeah, getting shot at. Send in a decoy.
Flush, I'm down.
You got bamboozled.
Got a squaddy down. Recharging my shields.
Think this place needs a little more...
Being shot at. Launching me knuckle cluster.
You got bamboozled. Still cracked. Firing. Reloading.
Let's go here.
We should go that way. Spotted one.
Lucky for you, I've got some extra supplies here.
I leveled up. Nice. And I get an upgrade. That's much nicer or equally
Standard
as
stock here.
better.
Level 2. Juice to me shields.
Oh yeah, now that's an upgrade. Thank you.
Healing up. She'll be right.
Go bamboozle.
Attention. There is a new kill leader.
Drongo over there. Let him rip.
You got bam.
There, shot him.
Take an enemy shield. Reloading.
Reloading.
Stand back, knuckle clusters firing.
Recharging me shields.
Giving my shields a recharge.
Healing up.
Bam to the woozle. Yeah, sending out a decoy. You got bamboozled.
Master.
Deploying me knuckle cluster.
Bam! There goes a boozle. Or something like that. You got bamboozled. You got bamboozled. Enemy shield cracked.
Reloading.
Give him my shield to recharge. Throwing our stuff. Sending out another me. Damn, he's good looking.
Launching me knuckle cluster. Drongo over there. Lucky me.
Round 2.
Move that way.
Shot at. Oh boy, taking him out with a decoy. You got bamboozled. Sniper ammo.
Replicator being
You got bamboozled. Give me my shield to recharge.
Recharging me shields.
Threw my grenade out. Hit, bam! There goes boozled, or something like that. You got bamboozled.
Stand back. Knuckle cluster firing. Arcstar going long.
Shooting an Arcstar.
Sending out another me. Damn, he's good.
Firing a frag. Cracked an enemy shield. Reloading. Ring spar and closing in 60. Nap time's over. Joker's shooting at me. Cracked an enemy shield.
Recharging me
Move that way.
shields.
Go here.
attention.
Ring spar and closing in 45. The last one in owes me a slab. New kill leader out there.
Wanna get
Bam! There goes a boozle, or something like that. It's defense o'clock
Ultimate
right here.
accelerant here.
Let's check out over there.
Gotta hop up here. Gotta hop up here. Disruptor.
Tick-tock, 10 seconds. At least the ring's close.
Warning.
Just gotta patch myself up. Wake up, ring's moving. That thing hurts.
Care package being delivered.
Lucky for you, I've got some extra supplies. Gotta hop up here. Boosted loader.
Faking him out with a decoy. Recharging shield. Making contact here. Fire. Enemy hitting me. This dude's so pluck. You got bamboozled. Bad news. I'm down. You got bamboozled.
Heal it up. She'll be right. Change posse to here.
Level 3. Beginning ring countdown.
Next ring's quite the trot. Keep 'em watch here. Let's go here.
On your feet, mate.
You stupid ass.
Let's check it over there.
Dumbass. Bro's 600 meters in the ring, thinks someone looking at him, gotta get me on a damn car while I'm down to 14% of my health. Fucking idiot.
The most common question I get on social media and on YouTube is, what camera should I purchase? I'm a beginner photographer, or I'm an aspiring videographer, or something like that. And it always is like, I just don't know what camera to get. I've seen all of these different options. Well, this video is for you. This is my 2024 Sony Alpha camera.
I'm the jump master this time.
Beginner photographer or videographer. For your first camera, I usually recommend purchasing a used camera. So most of our list here is from the used camera market, but you can of course look for new camera options as well. My biggest tip to you when buying a used camera is to be patient and wait for a good deal to come on the used camera market. I see deals all the time on Facebook Marketplace, on Craigslist, on Shop.
Jumpmaster here. Good thing my buddies and I aren't afraid of heights. Follow the leader, that's me. Or not, whatever, I mean, as long as we win.
Inevitably will come, you just have to wait for it. We have 10 different options in this video, and we're going to start from lowest to highest, beginning with the Sony NEX3N. I actually have this camera right here, and I've really enjoyed using this camera. I think it has a lot of pros for beginners, things like high quality photo capabilities. It also shoots pretty good 1080p video at 24 frames a second. So if you're someone wanting to just kind of dip your toes into the video world, I think the 3N is a good option, because for whatever reason, this camera's codecs and resolutions just perform better than some of the other NEX cameras in Sony's lineup, like the NEX5, the NEX C3 and F3. The 3N is way better for video capabilities. So I'd look at the 3N as kind of the baseline model and then work your way up from there. I found my 3N off of eBay for $69 US, which is an insane price point, and it's literally the cheapest mirrorless camera I could find off of eBay at the time, okay? So it's important to be patient, wait for a good deal, and that's how I got the NEX3N. The next camera on our list is the Sony NEX5R, which is similar to the 3N in a lot of ways, specifically with the fully flip-up screen. Typically sell between $100 and $200 on eBay. The next camera on our list, I think, is by far the best designed Sony NEX camera, which is the Sony NEX6. This camera is outstanding in a lot of regards. It's a great photo taker. It's very on par with some of even Sony's cameras that are released later than the NEX system, so the A6000 line, the A5100 line, etc. So it's really on par for photos. Video-wise, I'd say it's very similar to the NEX5R, okay? So you're going to get similar video results out of this camera. But there's just a way more like professional kind of style with this, okay? So you're gonna get like a mode dial up top to change from manual to video mode to panoramic. You also get a lot of custom buttons on the body, like autofocus lock, a function button, etc. And you get a hot shoe on top of the camera to mount different accessories like a flash or a microphone or a light or whatever you want to mount in the hot shoe. My favorite feature of the NEX6 is its high resolution viewfinder. It's a really good viewfinder for taking photos. So of the 3 cameras that I listed so far, I really think the NEX6 is the best option for someone who's a beginner photographer who wants the viewfinder, wants a really good photo package. This is a great option, and you're going to get pretty good video results as well. I found mine for $177 off of eBay, and it came with a kit lens, which I just thought was a great price. I jumped on it. I waited for the right timing for it. I found it and I purchased, so make sure you wait for the right time. Okay, the first 3 were some of my NEX camera recommendations. Now we're gonna get into some of the next phase of the Sony ecosystem, starting with the Sony A5100. Why I like this camera is actually a lot of the same reason why I like the NEX3N. These are almost the exact same camera bodies, which I found just fascinating. The flip-up screen, the button placement, the on and off button, the way the side ports are, the HDMI slot, the SD card slot, the charging slot. It's just kind of basically the same camera body style, but with a way better autofocus system and resolutions for video. The A5100 is the first camera that shipped from Sony with the XAVC-S codec out of the box. So that's a really high quality codec to get you better video results that all of the NEX cameras didn't have. So you're gonna get better video out of this camera. You're gonna get a world-class autofocus system and touch focus capabilities on the back of the camera. This is the cheapest camera on the list that actually has touch focus to be able to touch focus and do some like touch focus tracking operations. I picked up my A5100 for $225 in 2023, and I think you'll be able to find them on the used camera market for a similar price point. Usually they pop up between $200 and $350, so be sure to time the market right and try to get one in the $200 price point. Okay, sliding into the number 5 spot is the Sony A6000. I love this camera. This camera is just outstanding in so many regards. What a lot of people don't know, however, is that the A6000 and the Sony A5100 actually share the exact same sensor. So as far as image performance, at slots 4 and 5 here on my list, the A5100 and the A6000, you're going to get the same image quality. You're just going to get a different experience by shooting with the two. The A5100 has a fully flip-up screen to be able to film yourself in a YouTube-style setup like that. So I usually gravitate towards the A5100 for video purposes. But as far as photography, I would always go with the A6000 because it comes with a viewfinder. I like the ability to shoot in brighter environments. You kind of need to rely on that viewfinder rather than looking at the back LCD screen, which this A6000 doesn't have the brightest LCD screen. So I'd really recommend using that viewfinder for photos. And then for video, it's kind of like my least favorite ever, like Sony screen that just kind of flips up like this. It's such a weird flip screen. Not my favorite. I really prefer the fully flip up screen of the A5100. With the A6000, you also get a hot shoe that you do not get on the Sony A5100, so that's good for mounting flash. I picked this camera up for $350, and I see them all day long for that price point, between $300 and $450. So just know that if you see that $450 price point, that's kind of someone trying to like price gouge you. That's nearly the retail price of this camera. It goes around $600 to $650 when it was released. And that's nearly 10 years ago. 10 years ago would be 2014 for this camera. And it will enter in 2024. So don't pay that price point for this camera. It's a 10-year-old camera, so make sure you pay closer to that, like $300, $350 price point. The next camera on the list is the Sony ZV-E10, and I just worked with a client who was trying to build sort of a podcast setup for video podcasting with guests. And this is actually the camera that I presented to my client because they were on a budget. I used this camera many times. It's a very good camera, and it has the same sensor as most of the Sony A6000 series cameras, like the A6400, A6600, etc. Sort of those higher-end A6000 cameras. This is the best iteration of that, and it's the Sony ZV-E10. My main feature that I love is the USB-C streaming feature. So if you're a gamer or a streamer, this is such a reliable and easy way to just pop a USB-C cable directly into your computer, and now you have a streaming capability. No HDMI, capture cards, or anything like that. This is a great camera, great photo capabilities. You get 4K video as well. I just don't think in 2024 the ZV-E10 will be obsolete anytime soon. I think this is going to be a staple in Sony's camera lineup for about 4 or 5 years, and it'll sort of, as the A6000 line phases out, I think the ZV-E10 will kind of reign supreme at the top of that sort of style. This is one of the few cameras on this list that you can still purchase new. This camera is still in production, so I'd recommend checking out a new option. If you want to look at Facebook Marketplace for like a lightly used ZV-E10, that's certainly something you can do. But new, they come around like $550 to $600. Sometimes there's even like Black Friday deals, so make sure you time the market right and just know like when sales are happening, holiday sales, Thanksgiving, Christmas, around then, these things always go on sale, so wait for those sales as well. The number 7 camera on our list is the Sony RX100 Mark VII, okay? So this is a camera that a lot of people don't talk about because this is basically, I wanted to make sure I included one good camera on this list because there's actually a lot of people who want an all-in-one package from Sony, and there's not a lot of all-in-one packages that are actually really good. Now this is one of them. The RX100 series is really solid. Here at number 7, I almost put the Sony RX100 Mark V because it's a little bit cheaper and I really enjoy it. But I actually prefer the Mark VII, which is why I sold my
Target landed near me. On course.
really solid. Here at number 7, I almost put the Sony RX100 Mark V because it's a little bit cheaper and I really enjoy it. But I actually prefer the Mark 7, which is why I sold my Mark V a few years ago, because the Mark 7 has a way longer zoom range. So it's like a 24 to 200 millimeter equivalent lens versus the RX100 Mark I through the 5 are all a 24 to 70 equivalent. So I'd say any one of the RX100 series cameras are really good. They're really good for photos. A lot of them have 4K capabilities. The Mark I through the Mark V, several of them have a built-in ND filter, which is really cool. And then the 6 and 7 dropped the ND filter, but have a 24 to 200 zoom lens on them. So there's a lot of great features in all of these RX series cameras. These are great for people who do travel videos, you hike, you camp, you backpack around, and you don't want to carry a big kit with you. This is an outstanding option and gets high quality video. I have multiple reviews on my YouTube channel about this camera and the RX100 Mark V as well. So check that out. Usually, I mean, new, this camera is like $1,200, so it's pretty expensive, but you can find them used. I found mine used. I found someone selling it for $500, so that's a great price. Now, I'd say most often you're going to see it closer to $600 to $900. So try to time it around that like $700 or $750. That's a great price for the RX100 Mark VII in 2024. Coming in at number 8 is the Sony a7 III. Now, this camera has made me more money than any camera I've ever owned just because of what I was doing at the time with the camera. I was touring with artists. I was shooting all sorts of production things. It was in the heat of like my wedding filmmaking career, my wedding photo career. So I was shooting a ton of weddings all the time with this camera. It brought me in like probably close to $80,000 with that camera in a span of a couple years, which is just a great source of revenue directly from buying. At the time, it was a $2,000 camera. So spend $2,000, get $80,000 from that camera. That's a great investment if you ask me. Now, this is actually the only full frame camera I have on my list. And so I'd really encourage you to check it out if you want that full frame system. All the rest of these cameras are APS-C sensors, except for the RX100, which is just like a 1-inch sensor. So the a7 III is full frame. You're gonna get 8-bit color science, which is a little bit older color science for Sony. So I wouldn't recommend shooting an S-Log3 very often. I'd shoot it in a different setup. I should probably S-Log2 and change the color mode to ITU 709 matrix. That's a kind of a technical thing. If you have a question, feel free to DM me on Instagram about that. But overall, this camera takes amazing photos. Really good 1080p video. It has outstanding autofocus. You also get 4K capabilities with a bit of rolling shutter, but it's okay if you don't get off sticks and you're going to just be shooting like interview type work. The a7 III is a great camera. I personally sold mine about 2 years ago for $1,200, and that's a little bit high now. And I'd say you can get this camera easily for $1,000, if not closer to $800 to $850. I see them often on Facebook Marketplace for $850. So check there and you'll get a good deal. Okay, coming to the end of our list here with 2 final cameras. The first being the Sony a6700. Basically, if you buy this camera, you're not going to need another camera for a really long time, but it still comes in kind of that entry-level price point at around $1,000 used, if you can find one used, up to like $1,300 or $1,400 brand new. Now, this camera is incredible. You're going to get brand new color science, 10-bit color science out of the a6700. It's flawless color. It's going to be great for video production work, for professional video production work, for a really long time. Also, takes amazing images, amazing still images. It is a crop sensor, so you just have to think about that when purchasing your lens decisions. All of these you have to think about that because a lot of them are crop sensors. So you're going to get the 1.5 times crop factor. So like a 20mm lens becomes more like a 30mm lens, if that makes sense. But just think about that. The a6700, you literally cannot go wrong with this camera. I love using this camera, so check that out if you're interested. And finally, wrapping up with the Sony FX30, which is practically the same camera as the Sony a6700. It's the same sensor, so you're going to get a lot of the same features, but it's housed in the body of the Sony FX3, which is what I'm currently filming on right now. If you are someone who wants to make professional videos and you want to be taken seriously as a videographer, you can be with any of these cameras, but I think you'll kind of think of yourself, and clients might even think of yourself in a different light if you carry around the FX30. This thing just looks like a cinema camera. It's beautifully designed. If you decide to add the top handle accessory, you're gonna get XLR inputs right away. There's just so many things going for this camera, but this camera, the caveat I have here is this is specifically for video shooters. I would not purchase the FX30 for photos. I think it technically can take pictures, but I wouldn't ever do that with this camera. I would only use this for professional video production work. So if you're someone who's like a beginner-ish, but you know you want to do video full time, you could kind of skip all the rest of the cameras on this list and go straight to the Sony FX30. Okay, those are my 10 camera recommendations moving into 2024. I hope this video was helpful for you and answers all of the questions that I get in my Instagram DMs and YouTube comments. I get these all the time. What camera should I purchase? Well, here are 10 options at varying price points, as low as $80 or $69 in the NEX3N, all the way up to like $1,800 the Sony FX30. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this video. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys in the next one. Much love.
Stocking up on some loot.
Attention, the champion has been eliminated.
Oh, someone got the party started.
Champions out. Now the mighty have brought shooting some blonkers.
See someone out there?
Reloading.
Round one.
Oh, that's got a kick! Taking fire! Cracked the bad dude's shield. Charging up my shield.
Some blonkers shooting at me. Putting up some armed cover. Enemy's shield broke. Reloading.
Charging up my...
Getting shot at. Enemy's shield broke. Reloading. Ah, I'm down. Buddy, buddy. There's an enemy.
Why don't you rest and relax? Mirage is on the way.
Faster, faster, faster!
There's an enemy.
And then there were two. Getting shot at. Oof, I'm down. No bueno.
Dude's old clock. You got bamboozled. Killed crack. Getting You got bamboozled. Sending out my decoy. One sec, healing up. Already inside the ring. Nice. You got bamboozled. One sec, healing up. Faking him out with a decoy.
There is a new kill leader.
No clock. Bam goes the boozle. You got bamboozled.
Kill leader.
Whoa, sick death, dude.
In this video, what I'm going to do is talk about the 7 mistakes and how to solve them that I made all the time when I started. and I see in other photos.
Land there if you know it's good for you.
Again.
Morning everybody, fantastic to see you all again. So there were 7 mistakes I used to make all the time when I started photography. I wasn't particularly artistic, I made so many mistakes looking at the photos, right, done wrong, right. And there are certain things that I see all the time in other people's photos. I get asked a lot as a teacher on my lectures and from people in my masterclass about how they improve their photos. There are certain things that the same mistakes that are made over and over again that are really easy to solve. So what I want to do is share with you those 7 mistakes, and in this video it's a little bit different because I've asked people on my masterclass if it's okay for me to share their photos and show some of the mistakes that they've made so that hopefully that can help. Now what I would say is that this is about exposure, it's more about composition. That is what most people
I got everything under control.
Auto and still get amazing photos. But composition is that thing that's just a little bit trickier. So they're the things I'm going to be talking about most. Before I get into the actual photos, I would say as well that I did a video here a long time ago, probably 2 years ago now, all about the 4 things that I think are most important in a photo, and that is subject, lighting, composition. If you haven't seen that, go and check it out. Okay, let's get on to the first thing, which is not really balance. The first thing is on balance. And a lot of people might not quite understand this, so let me explain. A balanced photo is where the elements of the photo just seem to fit nicely together. So this is a good example of a balanced photo. You can see that everything sort of sits nicely together. I think without this tree in here, it might not be quite as balanced, but you've got, you know, the house here in the middle, got a nice dark area here, the tree here just curving round, everything just sits nicely and it's really nicely balanced. If you look at this one, it's a fantastic shot, but just a little crop would balance it up a little bit because I feel that this is quite heavy on the right hand side here. So just by cropping in on that and just moving just down, let's try to clever here. So just moving it down to about there and having maybe a little bit of that just to balance off the side creates a much more pleasing image. You can see on this shot here from Iceland that the photographer just needed to move their camera down to balance the shot up because, you know, there's a need for a little bit more foreground in this image and not so much sky, because the sky is quite dominant. That draws your eye up. On this shot here, you can see that the rock on the left hand side is quite dominant and it's not that balanced, so your eye, it just feels unbalanced. You can just imagine it like a scales really, and on this one the rock's going to tilt it to the side and it's not going to be quite balanced. Whereas this shot here from Andy, we've got really nice balance in the shot. So we've got this tree house here and then this bird just really nicely balances it out. And what I find is that to get good balance you can draw diagonals through your scene quite often, and that can help to balance your image. So if you have something in one diagonal, try and think about what's happening in the opposite diagonal, as well as left and right and top and bottom. Those diagonals are really important to balance your image, and it's why a diagonal line through an image works quite well. On to the next mistake that I see all the time, and this is foreground. Foreground into their images, but it not being purposeful. So I think a foreground in the image has got to have a purpose. It's got to have something that adds to the story of the scene. And if it's not that dominant and it's a bit too confusing, then it can not quite work in the photo. So for instance, this shot here, you can see that the fence is a good idea for a foreground, but because the fence crosses over and there's lots of grasses, then it doesn't quite work. It's not quite dominant enough as a foreground, and what ends up happening in this photo is quite messy. Again, in this shot here, you can see that somebody tried to get foreground, tried to put rock in here, but the problem is that the rock blends into the surroundings quite a lot. So what you've got to try and do is, if you've got a rock like that, is you've got to try and find a rock that's going to be a really dominant part of the foreground, and so that becomes the feature of this sort of bottom half of the image. And that will create a much more dramatic shot. Again, on this one here of these hay bales in the field, what you've got is a foreground that's not super exciting. And really, I feel that the foreground should be one of those hay bales. So if you'd have moved a little bit closer to those hay bales, then they'd have made a more dominant foreground and been something that would be more interesting. Instead of having this sort of letterbox part of the image, which has got all the detail in. The foreground's got to have something of interest in. So just to give you an example of that, here's an example from Phil of a good foreground. So, he really thought about the actual where he's placing these rocks. They're quite prominent, and they set off the scene. It's still half the bottom of the image, but he's got some really nice diagonals through the foreground as well that are actually working really well to sort of draw your eye through to the tree, and I think that works incredibly well. And then this tree is, quite a dominant subject within the image. So here's a few other examples of really good foregrounds as well. If you can get foregrounds like that in your scene, it can make such a big difference. So really think about that and be really purposeful with your foreground in your image. And whilst we're on foregrounds, let's go to the third point, the third mistake that I see all the time. And that is the foreground just sort of dropping off. I've spoken about this before. It's where the foreground just doesn't connect with the midground and the distance of the image. So here's a good example of what is actually a really nice foreground and an amazing sunset, but I feel that the connection between the foreground and the sunset in the distance doesn't quite work. We almost have like this drop off here that sort of, takes your eye down into the bottom, but doesn't connect you through to the bottom. So what would have been a good idea here is maybe sort of wandering around and maybe just standing here and then photographing in this direction, where you might have been able to see down into this valley here. That foreground connection is really important. So here's a good example of a drone of an amazing sort of patch, and you can see this diagonal line going through in an S-curve, and it takes you right through into the sea. Whereas this one here with Peter sort of almost works, but there's still that sort of drop off. I'd have liked to just maybe see that just turned a little bit further to the left, and you might have just had a better diagonal, which would have created a nicer drop-off into the scene. On to the fourth point, and this is about not having a compelling subject in the scene. And I think it's important for a landscape shot to have compelling elements in the scene. And that compelling element doesn't have to necessarily just be a lone tree or something like that. The river winding into the distance, it's just a mountain, and the actual clouds.
Cracked a bad dude here. I'm down.
No bueno. Enemy down. Reloading.
Enemy healing here. They should just give up.
Over the mountain, but I think it's important to have an area where your eye rests is probably the best way to explain it. So if you look at this image here from Reagan, there's some amazing cloud formation which is captured really nicely, but I feel that your eye doesn't quite rest in the image. There's not a compelling part of the image to go to. Now that compelling part of the image could just be a part of that cloud formation.
for. Let's do this.
Introducing your champion. Round one. Attention. Countdown. First blood.
Inside the ring. Sweet. Charging on my shields. Frag out! Grenade out! Enemy shield. They're not getting back up from that. I'm already in the ring. Score. Throwing your path. Charging on my shields. Bad news here. I never know. Yeah, I should pick an upgrade. Whole squad ate my dust. Let's do that again. Deploying one of those respawn beacon thingies. These upgrade rips. Care package over there. Let's get on that. Faster, faster, faster. Hit the ejector seat. That's how it's going up, amigos.